This is John Davis, and along with my colleague Mark Russo, this is the Everstream Analytics 5-minute forecast. Let's first cover the US situation where things are pretty quiet. This map portrays the major cargo airports, and no airports are at high risk across the US. As for the major port operations, two ports, Houston and Galveston, are at high risk due to winds over the next couple of days. And finally, from a standpoint of the intermodal hubs, we have a few isolated locations in southern Texas and in the Los Angeles area that are scoring high risk. Of course, high winds in southern Texas, and then one site in southern California with some wildfire risk. If we look at the details of the situation in and around Houston, the time frame of high risk, which is coming up tomorrow night, is very short in duration. Of course, it's gusty winds for about 3 to 4 hours in excess of 40 miles an hour, and it's a very short time frame. After that, risk goes to the green mode basically from that point on. So no long-term disruptions are expected, just some very minor issues over a few hours. And again, that is tomorrow night. As for the broad situation with wind gusts, nothing in the way of any kind of major wind gusts out there. Again, southern Texas will tend to see some higher gusts, as will some areas of the Rockies, along with some of the areas offshore of California. Nothing severe in nature, but certainly some minor wind gusts out there over the next 7-day period. Finally, let's look at some severe weather where over the next day or so, we will have some isolated severe weather, mainly concentrated across portions of Oklahoma and Texas, with West Texas being the area that has the most significant risk today, a moderate risk of scattered severe weather today and tonight across the region. And then tomorrow, that slight risk then moves for a little bit further east into eastern areas of Texas. So nothing in the way of any kind of a large-scale outbreak, but some scattered areas could see some severe weather over the next 24 to 48 hours. So with that, we'll go to the global highlights with Mark. Mark?
Thanks, John. And currently around the world, the biggest disruptive weather event in terms of supply chains is cyclonic storm Tauktae, located in the Western Indian Ocean in the Arabian Sea. Tropical or cyclonic storm Tauktae yesterday, as it continued to strengthen, it reached maximum winds of 140 miles per hour, making it a Category 4 storm, the 5th strongest tropical cyclone on record in the Arabian Sea. And only 6 Category 4 plus storms have occurred there since more accurate data began back in the late 1990s. Now, we've already seen major supply chain disruptions in the western coastal areas of India as the storm here tracked over the past couple of days across the region. And as we see here, while it had not moved directly into the Mumbai area, certainly impacts have been felt. And coming up here, based on the current forecast, Tauktae will be making landfall in the northwest state of Gujarat coming up early tomorrow morning around midnight local time there in Gujarat state, still as a very strong storm, although likely it has reached its maximum intensity as winds have decreased slightly over the past several hours, but still Tauktae is a Category 4 storm and very impactful. Now, as I mentioned before, the areas in around Mumbai and some of the coastal areas in Western India have already seen impacts such as closures to ports and even some damage in some of the coastal areas due to flooding and also a storm surge. Taking a close look at the port of Mumbai, the risk remains high for disruptions and issues there throughout the day today before ending here tomorrow once winds calm down. And again, a direct hit on Mumbai is not expected, but cyclones, but rather there will be indirect impacts And in fact, actually, cyclones affecting Mumbai historically are very rare, with only one landfall by a storm in around the region. That was that tropical storm strength back 80 years ago. So a pretty unique situation, and some significant impacts there, but again, not a direct hit in Mumbai. The more direct hit and ultimately the most severe issues in terms of supply chain disruptions will be in the state of Gujarat due to the combination of very strong winds with maximum wind gusts in excess of 100 miles per hour, as you see here on the forecast wind gusts over the next couple of days. And then there's also the risk of very heavy rainfall and flooding issues with some areas likely picking up over 8 inches or over 200 millimeters of rainfall over the next couple of days. And then by the middle portion of this week, then the storm will be out of the region here. And but again, some of the long-term impacts to supply chains due to damage, those could go on for days and potentially weeks. Thank you for watching today's 5-minute forecast. To learn more about our solutions, please visit our website. Get in front of what's ahead.